Caleb Williams balled out in that preseason game. We're here to break it all down. We're going to get the Buffalo Bills perspective with Joe Buscaglia as well. Hoge Jahns starts right now. What's up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns, with you after a dominating performance by the Bears. Yes, it's preseason, but it was also 38-0 against the Buffalo Bills. Something in there has to matter, right, Johnsy?
The Bears had 31 first downs. 3-1. They amassed 528 total yards. They were 9 for 16 on third down. The Buffalo Bills were 0 for 8 on third down. So that is something. It's a lot better than nothing. How much it really means, I don't know, but it was an impressive showing, to say the least.
It was a marriage of good coaching and good execution is what it looked like to me.
Against bad players, or backup players, sorry, I should say.
Backup players, but how many snaps did the starters play last night again? Do we have that in front of us?
I just remember seeing it this morning. I think Braxton Jones played 14 snaps.
Yeah.
So there's your left tackle competition right there.
Okay, so for 14 of was almost like 100 snaps. Bears had a lot of plays in this game. It was quite crazy. My point is, so yeah, for 14 of the snaps, it was Bears starters versus Bills backups. It was 7-0. Okay, the rest of the game was backups on backups, third stringers on third stringers, and the Bears dominated all that too. So I still think that you got to take something out of that as in terms of good scheming to get guys open, good execution. I mean, even if we're going to talk about the backups, like Tyson Bagent's throw to Tyler Scott in the back of the end zone on the run was a heck of a throw. That was a real ass throw. That was cool. And then defensively is a shutout. Even if it's backups on backups, it was a shutout. I mean, the Bears' depth kicked the Bills' depth, and the Bills feel like they can win a Super Bowl this year, and they are probably right in thinking so. So it's not nothing.
If we're going to grade body language, Ben Johnson on the sideline looked confident, almost like confidently psychotic in a sense. Is that a great way to put it?
That's what he is at this point.
Like I was surprised he didn't go for 40 points. I really was.
Did you see him? You probably didn't see this because you were at the game, but on the broadcast, when they got that last first down right before the 2-minute warning at the end of the game, I think Poles even said something like Ben's just like confident or whatever he said.
Okay.
I think that was still when, anyway, they cut to Ben and he just looks at somebody and winks and he's like, we got it. I think my guess is he was talking to his defense. Maybe he's talking to Dennis Allen or something, but we got the shutout essentially. Yeah. You could tell they were playing for that at the end.
Yes. I like that. So to compare and contrast the body language on the opposite sideline, at least every time they put Sean McDermott on TV and I saw it, he looked pissed. Yeah. Just thoroughly pissed at the performance of his football team.
He also looked very confused, like a lot of people were at the review process, what was getting reviewed, why it was getting reviewed.
It didn't seem to expedite the game whatsoever.
Virtual measurements took 9 minutes with 8 commercial breaks. Like, I don't, the NFL and the officials got to figure all that out. But, Sean McDermott, yeah, he just looked confused a lot of the game. All right, let's concentrate on the quarterback, though. So, Ben Johnson confirmed kind of what we've been saying since, our last episode. Anything you've caught in between these two episodes, we said it was a big week for Caleb Williams. He bounced back off of what was a bad practice last Monday, stacked 3 good, not great, I'd call them good practices in a row, including Friday against the Buffalo Bills. And it carried into the game last night, and he looked good. I mean, same thing, wasn't perfect, never is going to be perfect, but I love the game plan. Even off the start, Johnsy, I feel like sometimes in the past, these offensive coordinators have thought that they're giving Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky an easy completion on the first play of the game. And it's just like, but it's still harder than it needs to be. And we've broken that down a million times, so we have to do that. This is just a simple play action boot. All the action moving left. They brought Colston Loveland from the right to the left, made everything look like it's going left. Caleb boots out of it. Colston Loveland comes across the formation into the flat, and it's just like high school football 101, getting a nice, easy completion. And honestly, Colston Loveland almost broke that tackle. It could have been even more, but nice 8 yards on first down just to get things going. I mean, it just that first play to me was a perfect example of get two young guys going, and then the next play they're able to hit Cole Kmet up the seam. Bam, you're rolling. And that is just not what we normally see from the Bears offense, especially after a botched kickoff. Like, that would normally just ruin the whole first quarter with previous teams.
So you're like me. You're expecting a couple run plays and a punt.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what we've covered.
That
they effed up the kickoff, so here we go. They're going to be behind the chains and not have field position until halftime.
It's even like the Loveland play. Okay, that's good. Like I think we saw versions of that play at least 5 or 6 different times with the play action boot, hit the receiver in the flat. Everybody's moving the balls out. Receiver hitting stride. Even the Bills are running it all day too. But to me, the moment where I thought, okay, this is going to be a bit different for a preseason game was that pass to Cole Kmet. The placement of it, the difficulty of it, and how should I describe this? The ball came out. It came out on time. We've talked about this at length on this podcast and on various shows about the anticipation, the pre-snap process, putting your foot down and making the throw without running around and being the hero. He did that. He did that a few times in those 2 possessions for the Bears. The long out to DJ Moore to the field side, that is a hard, difficult throw. It officially goes down as a 10-yard completion, but that is a lot longer than 10 yards. He threw that ball on time. Caleb Williams to DJ Moore, first down and 3rd and 5. So to see the ball delivered on time and with some confidence, that was my favorite thing. That's my favorite element from this game for Caleb Williams.
So let's back up to that second play real quick. And depending on when you're watching this, make sure you watch CHGO Bears our Monday episode 2, because I'm going to break this down with some of the film. The Bills, why I like that play so much. And I think it's actually something that the Bears can pull out of this game and be like, this was real progress from Caleb Williams. So they start with it looks like middle field close with the single high safety to start. So there's some indications that it's going to be a man defense. And right at the snap, that post safety starts breaking to his right, and the other safety that came up into the box, he breaks back. So now they've at the snap, all of a sudden middle field open, more of a cover 2 shell, and Caleb sees it. And I'm going to show this on CHGO today. You actually see him. He sees Cole's got the matchup, and he just needs to verify that the middle field's going to be open. So it starts closed. So he glances. You'll see him on the film actually from the end zone angle, glance at that safety who has turned his back and run straight backwards right before. So he's got Caleb, but before he throws it, he glances over at that other safety. Yep. Okay. It's open. Ball's out. All of that I just said there, it happened in like 2.1 seconds. And the ball was out at his back foot hit and his drop back. Boom. Ball is out. And it was a great throw right up the hashes too for Cole Kmet. So that's that sort of pre-snap to post-snap processing correctly and then delivering the accuracy. Now, it's not going to be that easy once you get to week 1 against Brian Flores. That's for sure. But it's an indication of significant growth, in my opinion.
And last night, Caleb Williams also gave Cole Kmet credit for IDing what was happening on the back end of the Bills defense and running the route or adjusting his route to where the coverage wasn't, going to the open space between the 2 split safeties deep there. So it's progress. It's development. It's throwing with anticipation and trusting your receiver to be there. I like it. I liked it a lot. I've written this a couple of times. Like, I'm not going to oversell him going 6 for 10 and completing those passes for 107 yards and a touchdown. I'm not. But if you're looking at progress, if you're looking for progress, if you're looking for signs of his development, if you're looking for signs that this could work with Ben Johnson, I think you got a couple of them against the Bills for sure.
And I keep going back to Ben. I guess this is continuing to be the season of things that make sense, and I hope it continues into the regular season because it's what we've seen since January. There's just you can't just sit there with your play card and just start like pre-programmed. Here's what we're calling. This is what we're going to do. Yes, you come into the game with the game plan. Certainly your first 15, and then in a game like this where there's only 14 plays to begin with your starters, like that's pretty much the whole thing. But there's a rhythm to what he's calling. And I also like really what I like is after that holding penalty on Drew Dahlman, which by the way, it was a hold. Going back and watching the film, he did kind of yank. I think it was 96. So a little bit of an uncharacteristic hold from what we've seen from Drew Dahlman so far. They come right back to Colson Loveland on the next play. And again, it was the same type of thing because they rotated into a cover 3 post snap. And Caleb saw it, and Colson Loveland was just coming on that deep over behind the linebackers and ahead of the safeties that dropped back, and Caleb put it right there in a spot where he could catch it on the run. It was a nice catch by Colson Loveland too. So I get it. It's backups. I get it. It's not the most complex defense, certainly not what you're going to see against the Vikings in week 1, but it also wasn't straight vanilla either. I mean, there was some disguise in there, and from what all Caleb can do is play against what he's playing against. And for last night, what he saw, what he processed was good. It was good. It was a really good sign.
I say this a lot. It's better than the opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite happens. We're having a much different discussion right now, and we're questioning development. We're questioning if this could work. We're questioning how long this is going to take to work. We're questioning Ben Johnson's patience level. None of those questions exist right now. Or at least we're not going through them quite yet. They have something to build upon. They really do. It's preseason. I get it. The starters for the Bills didn't play. I get it. And we got to qualify this conversation with that probably a few times today. But it's better than the opposite. And I think they could take stuff from this, and they can critique some of it, but there's just good signs, especially if you consider what they did against the Bills in the joint practice too, which I thought for the most part was a good day from Caleb Williams. Although towards the end, I think the Bills defense kind of got the better of them, at least the final team periods.
Last thing I'll bring up too, just from Ben Johnson's perspective, because like the Ben Johnson stuff translates. You can poo-poo what Caleb did a little bit if you want to. I don't think you should, but you can. You can at least qualify. But the Ben Johnson stuff in terms of what he's running out there, I mean, to me, that's not going to change. It's perhaps the execution against better players once those players are out there. But so everything we're seeing from Ben Johnson, this offense, 15 plays. It's technically 14 because there was a penalty in there, the offsides penalties, but they lined up 15 times. 7 under center, Johns, 8 in shotgun, and a good mix. I'll just run through it right now because I'm a maniac and I charted all this morning. 12 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel with Colson Loveland out wide. So it's basically like 11. I mean, that's one of the things we talked about with Colson Loveland. You're in 12 personnel, but he's out wide against a corner. So that's really 11 with what Colson Loveland can do. So that's just put that in your back pocket. 11 personnel, then 11 personnel with Colson Loveland instead of Cole Kmet, which was interesting. I think that's going to be a big question when they go to 11 in the regular season. Who's getting more of those snaps between Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland? 12, 11, 11, 12, 11, 11, 12, 11, 11, 11. So a good mix just overall, even though it's a preseason game, you're not trying to get too crazy. I wanted to at least chart all that to kind of get an indication maybe of what we're going to see, because so far this is in a game setting, all the data that we have.
I love the switch release concept too. So that's what freed up Olamide Zaccheaus for that quick slant over the middle. And OZ is he has that St. Brown role in Ben Johnson's offense. And like if you're listening right now and your fantasy draft hasn't come up and you're looking for a late round receiver, I'm suggesting right now that you should draft OZ. Zacchaeus has been one of the best players throughout Bears training camp. Actually, the past couple weeks, like he might be the Bears' leading receiver. There's been a lot of discussion about Roma Dunze, but what you saw with that switch release concept that led to that touchdown, we've been seeing a lot of that throughout training camp. Not just that concept, but he's open. He's open. His experience and his skill set fits that role so much. Like that's eventually going to be Luther Burden's spot, but right now it belongs to Zacchaeus, and I think it's just a great example to build off your conversation of how Ben Johnson is using his personnel just correctly. You could see it. You could see it working. And Zacchaeus, whether it's Zacchaeus or Colson Loveland or the 12 personnel with Cole Kmet included in there, you just like what Ben Johnson is doing right now with the players that he has. And he's got some good players to use.
I mean, there's no question about that. And the seeing Luther Burden run around out there with the twos later in the game, and just, I mean, he might have been the most talented player on the field at that point. and seeing his willingness blocking too. There's just a lot that goes into that F position is what they call it for OZ, and he's got to pretty much know everything. Even if Luther Burden was understanding everything, and there are some really good signs the last couple of weeks that he is picking things up, that's a lot to ask any rookie and really unrealistic. So to your fantasy point there, I agree with you, because while you also said that's eventually going to be Luther Burden, it's not, I don't see that being all of Luther Burden's role by the end of the season. Like he's just totally overtaken all the playing time from OZ. OZ's been too important. The coaches love him too much. And quite frankly, his ability, his just talent, you saw it on that touchdown. He can run away from you. And if you want to say that was against backups, okay, fine. We saw that in practice Friday against the Bills too, where he caught one underneath over across the formation and then just ran away from every Bill starter.
Yeah, I would love to go watch that play, because at least the end zone angle that they keep showing, you can't really tell what the Bears are doing. But it was similar, a quick slant per se, right? Again, but that was a lot longer of a catch and run where he just eluded every Bills defender, and in that instance, all they had to do was touch him, hit him on the hip, and that counts as a tackle. Didn't happen. Too fast, too dangerous in the open field. So I think Ben Johnson is utilizing his skill set, what he could do so well right now.
All right, before we hit a break and bring in Joe, what did you write about last night? What can our diehards get at allchgo.com?
So, well, obviously Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson saying that he is, well, really in the middle of his best stretch of practices right now. You could count the preseason game. To me, like, I thought he was good against the Dolphins. I thought he was good against the Bills in practice, and I thought he was good against the Bills in the preseason game. So if Ben Johnson also wants to add a couple practices from a couple days ago, then I would agree with him. He's seeing things that we aren't. He is the film. It's been a good stretch here. And really, I think I said this last night, for Ben Johnson to have this type of performance with Caleb playing well, Tyson Bagent playing well, his two running backs like Britton Brown, like, are you serious? Like this, like it was a win for Ben Johnson just to go through the whole operation for a primetime game, getting production out of players that, weren't on the roster that long ago, getting Ian Wheeler going after tearing his ACL last year. So I felt like for Ben Johnson, this is something he can really build upon really for himself.
All right, well, you can get that at allcshow.com. That diehard offer, if you haven't signed up yet, is still there for you. You can scan that QR code if you're watching on YouTube, or go to allcshow.com/diehard, and a $36 training camp offer is there for you. You can pick out a free shirt, any of our shirts, but that Hoge Jahns limited edition one is still available if you want to pick that out as your free t-shirt. And then once you're signed up, you get 20% off all merch, so you can buy more stuff like the hat. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. Don't go anywhere, though. Our friend Joe Buscaglia is going to join us next. He covers the Bills, so we're going to get Buffalo perspective on Bears things, if that makes sense, because he was at practice Friday and, of course, saw the game last night as well. So he'll be able to give a good perspective, not only on, what matters from the Bills side of it that could translate to the regular season for Caleb Williams and the Bears, but also, he knows a little something about good quarterback play with Josh Allen and covering his entire career. So Joe joins us next, but first. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside is everything you need to elevate your summer, and it's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. They're just Illinois' favorite dispensary, straight up. Locations in the city, Wrigleyville, River North, out to the Burbs, Champaign, South Beloit, and more. If you're just starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands that we know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. And if you're an expert, they got over 100 strains on the menu to choose from. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. And for existing users, enter promo code CHGO50 and you'll get 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item. And as the heat continues here this summer, we want to make sure your AC is up and ready to go. That's why you check out Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. They've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Now's the time to get that AC checked out. Four Seasons experts are ready to go, help you with AC installation, maintenance, and repair. And the best part is they do not charge you more for service during the nights, weekends, and holidays. That always seems to be when things go wrong. Plus, if you need a brand new AC unit, you can save up to $4,000 on new comfort systems with Four Seasons. So check them out now. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That is fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. All right, let's bring in our old friend Joe Buscaglia, who does a great job covering the Buffalo Bills. Been on this show many times. And Joe, we just need your perspective on the Bills side to tell us, all the context that is needed with what we saw on the Bears side last night, which looked pretty good for Caleb Williams, obviously. But before we get there, I got to ask you, I know it's a preseason game and the Bills starters didn't play, but what was the message from Sean McDermott last night after the game? Because I got to imagine, even though it's a preseason game, when you lose 38-0, you're probably not, thrilled with the performance.
Oh, you could see it on his face anytime the camera panned to him during the entire game. He was hot. And there's a reason why he challenged a mostly meaningless incompletion that he thought was a fumble that he thought was an incompletion in the fourth quarter when they were getting blown out that well. He just wanted to get something going for his team. To his credit, they did come out with a little bit more fire in the beginning of the first half or in the second half, but no, it was bad news. And I think McDermott, what he believes now he has to go through this entire week to try and figure out, okay, how to spark this team to where they don't have another one of these in the third preseason game against Tampa Bay this upcoming weekend. And I kind of wonder if he is going to be up in the air about whether or not to play the starters just to get something positive going towards the regular season, because I'm sure he doesn't want another of that to happen at the final of their preseason game. He's more into the momentum side than I think some other coaches are.
Were there any starters, any regulars, anybody who's going to be of note playing at Soldier Field for the Bills?
There were two total. On defense, it was Cole Bishop, who is entering his first full season of starting. He was their second round pick in 2024 at safety. He was banged up for about a couple weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks with a quad injury. He didn't play in the first preseason game. So I think that's the reason why they wanted to give him some reps in the game. I think he got 10 snaps total. And then on offense, it was Joshua Palmer, who they signed in free agency. He's going to be one of their toppers, but he hasn't been with the program for a ton of time, as opposed to like Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, all those guys who sat. And they wanted to, because he has been dealing with like a little bit of a groin injury throughout training camp as well. So they wanted to get him some work too. So I think he played like 2 series, I want to say. Actually, their series weren't that long. So maybe it was 3 series. I think around like 12, 13 snaps or something along those lines.
So good quarterback play, though. You cover a good quarterback. You covered his ascension too and his development. What did you see last night from Caleb Williams with all the context and knowledge that you have about what was going on the Buffalo side? What stood out to you? Did any of it seem like real and translatable to the regular season?
I think the translatable part is that he was finding the weak spots in their zone. I mean, it's on the Bills for not being able to get literally any pressure on him whatsoever, but it's another thing to be able to dice up what the Bills were able to do. I didn't look at like his average time to throw or anything like that, but I imagine he was getting it out there fairly quickly based on the what the defense was kind of putting up against him. So
it was mostly just a tick over 2 seconds, Joe.
Yeah,
it's pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's a great sign for processing. I mean, Josh Allen early on in his career, he still does this, but he was a long processor. You know, it took him a lot of time to get the ball out, but when he really started to take a step forward was when he was anticipating things pre-snap and then implementing them post-snap to get the ball out quickly. And even if it was still closer to 3 than not, it was still better than what it was, because he was up in the 3.3s, 3.4s early on in his career. So now Josh Allen, it's really game plan dependent what he does in terms of how long he hangs onto the ball, because you also don't want to take that out of his game completely. Same thing with Caleb, right? I mean, when he can get out of the pocket and get out of structure, he can do some special things, and that's exactly what Josh Allen is all about. And that's some of his most highlight-worthy plays throughout his career. So you have to walk that fine line. But yeah, I think that would be the most translatable thing. My big question would be, just because we didn't see it last night, is how does he deal with that when he has some pressure in his face, because the Bills just really didn't supply any of it last night.
So let's go back a couple days. Let's go to Hallis Hall. You were there for the joint practice between the Bears and the Bills. What were some of your, key takeaways? Let's start with the Bills. Like, what did you see from the Bills from Josh Allen against the Bears defense when they went one-on-ones?
Yeah, I think they put in some good work on that side of it, and I paid more attention to that because during the practice, admittedly, just because I thought there was a chance that the Bills would do exactly what they did, which was sit all their starters in the preseason game. And this was really the Bills' best chance to get Josh Allen some work in a controlled atmosphere. And I even asked Sean McDermott ahead of the practice, I'm like, would you like to play Josh Allen in the preseason? He's like, well, if you can guarantee me that he's not going to get hurt and then we can put him in bubble wrap, then I would love to play him in all 3 games. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like you really want to play him. So yeah, in that practice, I thought he got some good work in. Specifically later in the practice, he had one really nice throw to Keon Coleman where he hit him right in the hole of the zone between, I think it was Brisker, and I can't remember who the corner was on the play. So that was his best throw of the day. He did have those 2 interceptions that were negated by a penalty each time, and so they want to move on from that. But Sean McDermott saw enough good things, especially him working with guys like Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Joshua Palmer, Keon Coleman, even Elijah Moore, who's kind of established himself as their 4th receiver, I think, at this point. That's they got enough good out of it to where they could satisfy and say, okay, we're good with the preseason game. But like I said, now I wonder if he completely flips that on its head for this final preseason game coming up.
These joint practices to actually be a pretty solid indicator, probably more so than preseason games, of kind of what teams are, not necessarily for the whole season, but I'll give you an example. Like the Bengals came to Hallis Hall last year, and the Bears kicked their ass. It was just one practice, and obviously the Bengals were a better team, but it was still an indicator of some of the stuff we saw with the Cincinnati Bengals all season. They got off to a slow start. Defensively, they were horrible the whole season. So I'm just wondering, did from the Buffalo side of things, do you come out of that joint practice? Is there anything the Bills are like worried about? Because from our perspective, and Ben Johnson said this last night too after the game, Caleb had his best week. He stacked 3 good practices together, including Fridays against the Bills. I know there's some mixed opinions on that, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good practice for him. And then he had a solid game against the backups last night as well.
Yeah, I think the Bills' defense is a work in progress, and that's kind of how they set this whole thing up this offseason. They did a ton of work. They've got some of their core starters still in place, but they added a bunch of new pieces to the defensive line. They have a brand new starting cornerback in Tre'Davious White, and he's going to be in the lineup because their first round pick suffered an LCL sprain mid-camp, so that took him out of the competition early on. Their safety position has a brand new starter in Cole Bishop. And so there's just a lot of maneuvering, and which is why we saw on Friday what we did, where the Bears were having some good success against the Bills defense. And I'm with you. I love joint practices. I think it's super translatable. It's a controlled area to where not only do you not fear your best players getting injured as much as you would in a preseason game, but also you can run stuff in joint practices that you wouldn't do it in preseason game because it's not on tape for the entire league to see. So if it's 2 teams that aren't playing each other in the regular season, you can run this stuff. And I think it might just be a gentleman's agreement. Hey, let's not share the film or something along those lines. But yeah, I think that to me is what is translatable from a Bills perspective. And I was pretty impressed by what the Bears did offensively. They were taking advantages of the Bills' weaknesses, that being Tre'Davious White, who I pointed out. They were getting some good work in on the safeties, but also I did see some reps where the defensive line was getting some pressure on Caleb Williams throughout that practice too. And I know the Bears offensive line has been a bit of a talking point this offseason. So yeah, I think we'll probably see a lot more of the same from both sides moving forward into the regular season here.
Joe, remind me, when we did our quarterback series where we talked to you about like Josh Allen's development, which Bears quarterback were we talking about?
Oh God.
Was it Trubisky or Justin Fields?
I think it was Fields.
Yeah, I think it was Fields going into year 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're losing track.
Spoiler alert, he didn't turn into Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He did not. He is now the starting quarterback of the New York Jets. So with that in mind, Joe, like what are some of the markers, the indicators, the good signs that we would want to see, we would want to cover, we would want to take note of Caleb Williams maybe going forward here as well the preseason winds down, but really in the early season where you, as someone who covered Josh Allen's ascension, like what were some of the early signs that you finally saw that this was going to work?
Yeah. Early on, you could tell there was talent there. There were flashes there and everything along those lines. I think it really depends on the individual more than anything, because Allen, unlike some other guys who we see it year after year where a rookie quarterback comes in, they have flashes their first year and then they fall flat on their face in years 2 and 3. And then by that point, they're borderline backups. I think the difference with Allen is that he is such a self-scouter that he can go in and see something wrong with his game that has been going on for a week or two and be able to fix it. It's one of the most remarkable things about him and why he's ascended to where he is, to where he just completely eradicates that little piece from his game in the confines of a regular season. So that's part of the reason that I thought, okay, this guy might be different, because listen, the Bears fans, I fully, I know what they're going through, because the Bills went through it for a long, long time before Josh Allen. From Jim Kelly to Josh Allen, there was a lot of interesting names in there at quarterback. But now that is what has kind of separated him into this upper echelon, to where he continues to build on that. And once he had that solid base where he wasn't making the same mistakes again and again and again, then he could start to improve himself in the mental part of the game, which is the pre-snap processing, which I think he has come such a long way in where he can look at a defense and now he's just got it. Him and his offensive line, they're at the line of scrimmage for a good 10, 15 seconds, just conversing and talking about what they see, being able to change up calls and change up where they're shifting their blocks and everything along those lines. He's just on it now. Whereas when he first started, that wasn't as big of a piece where teams could take advantage and confuse him. So that was the biggest step from jumping where he was, okay, he's a really good, young, exciting quarterback to, okay, now he's one of the best guys in the league. So that's going to be the biggest piece. I think if Caleb Williams self-scouts and he's able to fix some of his problems and just doesn't continue to go on the hamster wheel of doing the same things over and over again, and then, if that piece comes together, then getting fully on board to the mental processing side ahead of the snap, I think that's where he can make his most gains.
Last year when the Bears were on Hard Knocks, I remember watching it being like, if we weren't covering this team or Bears fans weren't watching, or if you weren't a Bears fan, I don't think this would be very entertaining. That's how this Bills season's been from my perspective. What's it been like with the circus that is Hard Knocks coming in? We got to see those camera guys back at Hallis Hall on Friday, but it's been kind of a snooze fest so far.
Oh yeah, completely. They have missed some opportunities, in my opinion, just like the James Cook thing. Like they had a full week plus of where we didn't even see him at practice for a solid 2, maybe most of 3 practices. And they had footage of him. To me, that was one of the bigger misses because, when you look at these documentary shows, it's all about drama and introducing some friction into it, and there really hasn't been any friction whatsoever when it comes to this thing. And to the Bills' credit, they do run a pretty anti-dramatic camp, but the Cook thing was a huge storyline throughout the NFL for a solid week plus until it got resolved, and they just kind of glossed over it. Same thing with the Maxwell Hairston injury. That was a humongous injury, and they spent I don't know, maybe a couple minutes on it. They got a quote from Bean, a quote from McDermott, and then that was it. And we haven't heard about Maxwell Hairston since. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the Bills are probably happy that this is going the way that it is, because I do know that they did not want to do this, and no team really does. But now I think Hard Knocks is in a position where, okay, they can get good teams to do this now, or they can force good teams to do this now. So I think they might be trying to walk a delicate line about, how much do we try and tick off the team that we're trying to cover, and how much do we embed themselves with them. And it's just it's a weird line. And I think snooze fest, Bills fans love it, but I don't know that the national appeal is necessarily there.
Do you know if the Bills granted Chicago Bears team president Kevin Warren a 15-minute interview, possibly by chance, to talk about the Bills, the Bears Stadium on the next Hard Knocks episode?
I don't know that. No. I wish I did.
It's just a running joke. It's a running joke of ours, and I think everybody kind of experienced it on the broadcast. Obviously, I was watching the game at Soldier Field, but Kevin Warren apparently had a long interview about the
that's right.
Stadium.
And then the Bills got the flex later in the broadcast to show their actual stadium.
Yes.
That's being built.
Actually, you know what? That part of Hard Knocks, the first episode, I thought was one of the coolest parts, because we actually got to see in some of the interior of the new stadium, which we haven't been able to do yet. So, but yeah, for the most part, it's been boring.
Hey, last question I have for you. Mitch Trubisky, is he going to be the backup for the Bills?
Sure looks that way. Mike White did not do that well for himself in the joint practice. Same story again in the preseason game. He just did not really move the ball. Really, the Bills didn't move the ball at all in the first half. And I think Mike White went of something along the lines of 4 of 11 for 54 yards or something. It's just, and there were a lot of passes that went awry. He couldn't escape the pocket, which is not ideal when you're dealing with the offensive lineman that he had in front of him. And Trubisky at least showed a little bit more of a proficiency. He was the better quarterback on Friday, I thought, by a lot. And then You know, in the preseason game, he was able to get outside the pocket, and that mobility is going to be so clutch, especially if you're running a Josh Allen offense. It gives you the most ability to kind of keep things somewhat similar. Not saying Trubisky is anything like Josh Allen. We all know his flaws. You guys know more than I do. You've seen him play a lot more football than I have, but yes, I think he is nearing towards being the backup in Buffalo once again.
All right, well, good for Mitch, I guess. He's still, we got to talk to him Friday.
He looked so happy to be here.
He did. Dude, he went to Monteverde right down the street from where I am at right now in the West Loop. It seemed like he enjoyed his time in Chicago, and the guy was always such a class act. It was actually nice to talk to him Friday as we hijacked your media availability, Joe. But I did. Fine. Yeah, the Bills reporters. There were like 3 of them there for like 5 seconds, and they're like, "You guys can have this. It's all good."
Yeah, we're good here. We're gonna go talk to I think it was Deion Dawkins or somebody.
That's awesome. Hey, Joe Buscaglia does such a great job covering the Bills for The Athletic. You should be following him and reading his stuff. Obviously, the Bills probably another year where they're going to be playing deep into January, if not February. So one of the guys nationally you definitely should be following for all the Buffalo Bills coverage throughout the season. But it was good to see you two at House Hall on Friday, Joe, and we'll catch up soon.
Good seeing you, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Johnsy, a few more players we need to talk about before we get out of here. And left tackle being a huge story in last night's game. Braxton Jones looked pretty good. I went back and watched every one of his snaps from the end zone angle this morning, and he responded to that challenge because last week against the Dolphins, it wasn't good enough. I marked them down for really just one bad rep, and that was the 10-yard out to DJ Moore against man coverage. But fortunately enough, Caleb Williams understood what he had there. One-on-one on the outside. They just had to get that quick pass out. That was on 3rd and 5, too. So good conversion there by Caleb. If you do watch that rep from Braxton Jones, he does give it up to the inside, but the ball's already out. So that's good. Overall, though, every other play, both run and in the pass, Braxton Jones, yes, against backups. Yes, he wasn't really tested. And I'll say this, too. He still doesn't look like completely in sync and comfortable on that leg, too. But it was good enough. It was good enough that if he can do that in the regular season, albeit against starters, they can get by with Braxton Jones. And just based on what we saw last night, Johnsy, the reps, the way they used Braxton, then quickly got him out of there with the ones. Theo Benedict played a lot more reps. It seems like now we're back to being Braxton Jones being the favorite to start week 1.
He played 14 snaps, 14 compared to 39 for Theo Benedict. I still think it's something to watch. Part of me feels like Braxton Jones is like just one unfortunate play of being rolled up on, and this conversation is different again. But right now, as it stands at what are we talking? 10:55 a.m. Chicago here, Monday, August 18th. Like, this is Braxton Jones's job. The snap counts tell you that story. They really do. So the Bears coaches could probably see Theo Benedict doing some good stuff on film, but if this was a more open competition, like, I think Braxton Jones plays more. But instead he was removed with the starters.
True. But it's also, I mean, I still think he had a lot at stake last night because if he had not played that well, if he had struggled like he did against the Dolphins a week ago, also against backups, that would have been highly concerning. I mean, that might have opened the door wide open to a number of different possibilities. So Braxton Jones did pass this test. We'll see what it looks like. Sounds like the pads will be on Wednesday at Hallis Hall. And then whatever they do with the starters this week in Kansas City, I feel like he still needs to play more. He still needs to get more reps. So I would have to think he's not just held out Friday in Kansas City, regardless of what the other starters are doing.
Well, he needs to play. Yeah, and if you're going to play him against Luke, like next to Luke Newman, who, by the way, like almost played the entire game. How about he started Luke Newman, the rookie, and nearly played the entire game. I think he's one of your top backups. Him and Ryan Bates are probably your top interior backups at this moment.
Yeah. Newman played left to start and then move over to right, so there's a good chance he's your swing guard. Maybe emergency center, but Ryan Bates seems to be the backup center at this point, and obviously has some versatility. And that's where Ryan Bates should be, sort of the backup guy who's been in this league. That's a role he can have success in my opinion. All right, let's keep going down the line here. Colson Loveland. It's just this is another thing I think you can take out and say translates to the regular season. I went through the personnel earlier. The fact that they're already going to 11 personnel with Colson Loveland, which I have written down, they lined up that way 5 times last night. They trust this kid already, and he's getting open. He's catching the ball. It is rare for rookie tight ends. It's a hard position to play as a rookie with all the responsibilities that come with it. He's blocking, he's catching, he's getting open. If they're trying to get the Sam Laporta like rookie season out of this kid, we can't say it's not possible. I mean, from everything we've seen, that's still on the table, and that's very encouraging.
Can I read you something from tight ends coach Jim Dre from last week? So yeah. This is Dre on Colson Loveland. He has tremendous urgency to pick up the playbook and all the details that come with not only the X's and O's, but the ins and outs of in-game adjustments. It's pretty rare for a rookie. A week for him playing is like 4 or 5 months for a regular season. He gets a lot of experience really quickly.
There you go. So, worth mentioning, just pointing out Colson Loveland on track to really be a contributor week 1. Probably on a smaller scale, but perhaps just as important in that. Would it shock you if I told you Luther Burden plays 15 snaps week 1 against the Vikings but scores a touchdown?
No. I thought you were gonna say like have 3 catches for like 50 yards or something like that.
Which is what he did last night. I mean, essentially, I think that's possible. I don't know. There's just too many guys. They're gonna have to pick their spots with Luther Burden. But when he's in there, you got to account for him. He looks good. So right there, first 2 picks of this year's draft look like they can be contributors in a possible scoring points in week 1 capacity. That's a really good sign.
Players, not plays. Ben Johnson's going to have a play for that player in Luther Burden, at least a couple, a package ready for him come week 1. He's too good. We've seen too many signs. And can I just say something? Like, how about the storylines kind of changing here a bit? Like, we went from talking about Ozzie Chapillo so much early on in training camp. Now here we are, past the halfway point, final preseason game coming up on Friday against the Chiefs. And now we're talking about the Bears' first 2 picks of this draft class really standing out, really making an impression, and really looking like they're going to have important roles, or at least in Loveland's case, by week 1, an important role in Ben Johnson's offense.
All right, we'll close out with 2 defensive players. I know you wanted to talk about Nick McLeod.
Nickelback, not the band, but the position. He played a lot. I want his snap count here. Hold on, let me pull it up. I might have lost.
Here. 28 snaps, 58% of the game, 6 special team snaps.
So obviously he played a lot because Kyler Gordon's out and Josh Blackwell's out. So maybe he's behind us a little bit, but just looking at the attrition and the injury situation in the secondary right now, I'm not sure how versatile Nick McLeod is, but to have that role for the Bears, I think for the Bills, I think you have a player who is on his way to securing a roster spot on the 53-man roster.
Yeah, we saw Terrell Smith go down last night with what seemed like a serious injury. So that's, the good news is there's a world in which the Bears' top 4 corners are all healthy and ready to go week 1. The bad news is that the depth has taken a significant hit, and 2 of those guys, Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, are dealing with injuries that are now kept them out a significant amount of time, especially in Jalen Johnson's case. So it's just one of those positions you're starting to feel a little uneasy about just because the injuries just keep piling up. So that's where, to your point, a guy like Nick McLeod becomes much more important.
Absolutely. And the fifth player we're going to talk about, if you want to get going on him.
Yeah, well, Austin Booker, who also got banged up last night, unclear at this point at this recording how serious that is, but it was a knee injury. And Dom Rob got hurt too, but I know you wanted to talk about Booker.
Well, Booker was a threat again. He was having a good game. He gets hurt on a kickoff. Like, we see it from the press box. He's slow to get up, makes his way off the field under his own power, doesn't play on the next defensive series, but then on the next kickoff, right, he's back on the field, and that's his last snap. He's done, immediately ruled doubtful to return with a knee injury. I didn't see him afterwards in the locker room after the game. I really wasn't looking for him either. I just happened to run into Terrell Smith and Don Robinson in the hallway, so I kind of saw what was going on with them. But he's having an outstanding preseason, Austin Booker. He really is again, and I think there was a role emerging for him in Dennis Allen's defense, just the speed, all the games he could play up front. And, you know, Dennis Allen loves that stuff. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what type of update we get from Ben Johnson later this week on him.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Booker, he's also showing, and again, it's against backups, but second week in a row, he used a strong arm on the left tackle and showed some power in his rush too. So for strength kind of being the question mark for him, it's been encouraging with Austin Booker that there should at least be some kind of change of pace, pass rushing role within this defense for him. So we'll have to wait and see how significant that knee injury is. Hopefully, because he tried to come back in, and it wasn't like something where he's getting carted off or anything. That it's not too serious, but nonetheless concerning. And if both Dom Rob and Austin Booker are out, same kind of thing at corner. Your starters are healthy, but what's the depth starting to look like as you go farther and farther down? Is that a spot where you need to start thinking about some type of addition going into the regular season?
Yeah. Now you have time. So if their injuries aren't serious, you have time to get healthy here. You have what? How many days between? I got to do the math here. I didn't get into this for the math, but you have
3 weeks from today.
3 weeks.
Is the opener.
You have time to get ready. So if it's not serious, I still imagine they're on the opening day roster in some capacity.
All right. It's been a fun episode. Thank you to Joe Buscaglia from The Athletic for joining us from the Bills perspective. A lot of good stuff every time we talk to Joe. We will be back on Wednesday with, I think he's a special guest. I texted him yesterday. I said, hey, will you come join us Wednesday? And he just wrote back in all caps, hell yeah, brother. So
let's go.
It is not the ghost of Hulk Hogan, though. It is our friend, our buddy, Adam Amin, who's been on the show many, many times. And he'll also be calling Friday's game in Kansas City on the Bears broadcast. So he called preseason game number 2. He'll be calling preseason game number 3. Before he goes to Kansas City, he's going to be right here on Hoge Jahns. So we'll hear from him on Wednesday's episode. Get you all set up and ready for the preseason finale in Kansas City. We're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, nice little performance for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson's offense last night at Soldier Field. That's going to do it for us right now. Become a diehard. Check out the shirt, the hat, still all available for you in the CSGO locker. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll talk to you then.
See ya.